very pleased to have this honor to welcome such distinguished guests from so many countries who came here for this fourth annual meeting of election management bodies. Georgia is proud to have such very important international event here in Tbilisi, and there are several reasons for that. First of all, we are always glad to see so many foreign guests in our country, and this is great pleasure for us. Second reason is that elections for us is as important as in your countries. And since independence in 1990, we conducted more than 30 nationwide elections, but we are still learning. And we believe this gathering will enable us to get a lot of wise ideas, experience which each of you brought here, and it will help us to improve the environment which is so necessary for political freedoms in any country. At the same time, we are glad to have you here now in February 2014, when we are still having fresh memories of our two last national elections. The one which was conducted just 3 months ago, the presidential elections, and the other one which was in October 2012, parliamentary elections. And that was first time when elections were conducted in peace, and the transition of power happened without supporting by other means other than ballot paper and the polling stations. With that, we Georgians became more convinced that electoral democracy can work here in this country as well, because we are skeptics, and there are still skeptics, that in certain countries, in certain cultures, free elections are not possible. Our own story demonstrates that it is possible when the main stakeholders are really engaged in the process and the political will is there. Therefore, we have something to share with you as well, and I'm sure representatives of Central Election Commission of Georgia will be very active participants in this during the working hours and after working hours as well. At the same time, the issues related to elections for me have some more meaning than it should be for a politician, for a representative of the Parliament of Georgia. Because it happened that I had the privilege to be member of the very first Central Election Commission created in Georgia in 1990, 24 years ago. That was very first multi-party elections which we conducted in Georgia, and the elections which saw the ruling Communist Party losing the power. And I remember what was the level of enthusiasm, what was the level of commitment of the members of the Central Election Commission who came from every single participatory party in those elections. We had about 35-member commission, and you can imagine how difficult it was to make decisions there and to administrate the elections. But that very first multi-party elections, after 70 years of communist rule, was so important for the society and for all political players that we managed to conduct elections which is until now remembered as one of the best done elections in terms of equality of opportunities and in terms of fairness and so on. Unfortunately, since then, political players learned some tools of manipulation. Manipulation not only with the choice of voters, but some other things as well. And unfortunately, the trust to the electoral process was diminishing, going down. And when such things happen in a country, this is probably the best indicator of the catastrophe a nation could face. When people are losing faith, when people are losing commitment to the electoral process. I believe the recent developments in Georgia are good demonstration of, again, the possibility of important turn. I spent my life in the opposition, and just in the part of the ruling coalition for 1 year, and the rest of 25 years of being in politics, I was in the opposition. And one of the most popular idea in this country, in the opposition camp, was that, well, forget that. We will never win elections because the government will never allow the other parties to compete on equal basis and then see the result which changes the government. And as I said, until recently, that was the case, unfortunately, and some different kinds of events, including peaceful revolution or bloody change of government, was accompanying or was determining the outcome of the elections. I'm talking about these issues because when looking to the current political map of the world, unfortunately, not all the regions and all the countries can feel themselves as secured, where democracy is consolidated to the level and the electoral process and electoral democracy is institutionalized to the level which does not have any difficulties in the future. At the same time, the globalized world is demonstrated in one very clear fact, that the most internal issue of a nation, which is election, is the least internal issue now. And elections in every single country is now already a matter of everybody else, because it became kind of very important indicator of sovereignty, if you want, because whether the rest of the world recognizes elected government or president or parliament depends not only on the papers which are produced in a given country, but about the papers which are produced by observers, international observers, local observers, the opinion which is created in different capitals of the world. Therefore, this issue has become probably one of the most internationalized issues, and therefore it is important to continue having events like this to demonstrate that this is not a subject which one country can deal to it. At the same time, the standards of free and fair elections are so clear. But as it happens with computer programs, when developers of viruses are smarter than developers of certain programs, and you are going to fight constantly against those viruses, I could compare the election industry in certain regions, including Georgia, to such model. You make efforts to improve something, and then you see that something was overseen, or people are smarter in order to find some ways for dishonest competition. However, the experience of our country demonstrates that whenever the government has enough political will, everything could be dealt successfully. And there's no such notion as somebody else prevented to conduct free and fair elections in a given country. So all this demonstrates once again that we need to continue working. We need to continue the learning process. And for us, for Georgian politicians and electoral management people, the work of certain organizations, including European Union, USAID organizations, and many other actors in Georgia were instrumental for facilitating the dialogue on the process, facilitating the better understanding of certain standards among the stakeholders. But we have a lot of things to deal with still, because in 4 months period from now we have another local elections, and the parliament is discussing another 100-page long amendments to the electoral code. And we are going to vote for that in about 2 weeks. And the question is, can we end this process at some point when the electoral legislation is not changed before every single important elections? Probably we should do that. And I know here are some participants of some countries who have more stable legal system for elections. We need to achieve that. So I'll stop here, because otherwise I'll enter in the issues which, as I said, are very interesting for me, and I would rather be happy to take a seat next to you somewhere if I had time, and to listen the presentations during these 2 days. I wish all the success, and I believe the organizers may have enough time in the agenda to see our beautiful country as well. And I wish you pleasant stay in Georgia. Thank you.